During his State of the Union address in 1971, American President Richard Nixon dramatically declared a war on cancer. "The time has come in America," he said, "when the same kind of concentrated effort that split the atom and took man to the moon should be turned toward conquering this dread disease. Let us make a total national commitment to achieve this goal." Since that seminal moment, at least one thing has become clear. If there is a war being waged, then the United States is losing. Today, despite spending something like $6 billion per year on cancer research and a staggering $200 billion on care, some 600,000 Americans die of cancer annually. That's more Americans dead each year than were killed in the entirety of World War I, World War II, and the Vietnam War put together. How is this possible? So much money spent on a war which is being lost so decidedly. Some say it's no accident that the war on cancer is a failure. Some say the cure for cancer has been found, not once, not twice, but many times, and that this information remains actively suppressed to this day. Before we continue, we'd like to thank our friends from Skillshare for sponsoring this video. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of classes in design, business, technology, and more. Skillshare's mission is to close the professional skills gap and provide universal access to high-quality learning. I really like Seb Lester's Calligraphy Essentials class, which teaches you the ancient art of calligraphy, together with Vashi Harrison's Illustrating in Procreate class, which can help you bring to life all of your visions and ideas. The first 1,000 to click the link in the description will get a free trial of Skillshare Premium membership. Explore thousands of classes and fuel your creativity and career with Skillshare. In the early 1840s, John Hoxsey was working as a farmer and horse breeder in rural Illinois when he noticed a cancerous growth on the leg of one of his prize stallions. Rather than put the horse down, Hoxsey decided to put the horse out to pasture and let nature take its course. After a few weeks, the horse had miraculously recovered. How is this possible? Hoxsey wondered. He noticed that every day the horse would graze in the same spot, an overgrown piece of pasture filled with numerous shrubs and flowering plants. It must have been these plants, Hoxsey believed, which had been responsible for the healing. Immediately, he began experimenting with the plants, blending them together in a variety of ways. After some trial and error, he had come up with a mixture which he found could be used to treat cancer in horses, as well as numerous other ailments. In short order, farmers and breeders from all over the area were bringing their horses to Hoxsey for treatment. He would pass on this apparent miracle cure to his son, John Hoxsey Jr., who in turn would pass it on to his own son, John Hoxsey III. It was this third John Hoxsey who would take things even further. While working as a veterinarian and treating a variety of animals with his grandfather's remedy, John Hoxsey III actually began secretly using the remedy on people. Amazingly, it worked, curing them of various cancers. Though he had 12 children, one in particular would show an interest in the family business, his youngest child, Harry. At the age of 8, Harry Hoxsey began working with his father, serving as his assistant and helping to administer the family's secret cancer treatment to both animals and, occasionally, people. When he reached 17 years old, his father, by then elderly and nearing the end of his life, called Harry to his bedside and revealed to him the secret family formula. "Now you have the power to heal the sick and save lives," he told him, before challenging his son to take the Hoxsey tradition further, if need be, in defiance of the high priests of medicine. Of this, he issued a dire warning. "They will persecute you, slander you, and try to drive you off the face of the earth. How right he was. After his father's death, Harry compiled all of his family's knowledge into a treatment he called Hoxsey therapy. The therapy included an herbal paste for external cancers and an herbal mixture for internal cancers, made from a combination of bloodroot, licorice, red clover, burdock root, stillingia root, barberry, cascara, prickly ash bark, and buckthorn bark. It also included antiseptic douches, nutritional supplements, and dietary changes, such as eating copious amounts of liver and cactus while foregoing things like salt, sugar, and white flour. According to Hoxsey, the treatment as a whole was designed to correct abnormal blood chemistry and eliminate toxins which were poisoning the system. As he described, the abnormal environment produced by chemical imbalance causes certain changes, mutations, in newly born cells of the body. The mutated cells differ radically in appearance and function from their parent cells. Eventually, a viciously competent cell evolves, which finds the new environment eminently suitable to survival and rapid self-reproduction. These cells are what is known as cancer. It follows that if the constitution of body fluids can be normalized and the original chemical balance in the body restored, the environment again will become unfavorable for the survival and reproduction of these cells. They will cease to multiply, and eventually they will die. In 1924, Hoxsey opened his first clinic in Taylorville, Illinois, to provide his treatment to the public. Almost immediately, he found himself in trouble with state authorities, repeatedly arrested and fined for practicing medicine without a license, despite amazing results amongst his first patients. Because of this, he would move his operations to Detroit, Michigan, then Wheeling, West Virginia, then Atlantic City, New Jersey, harassed by authorities at every stop. Eventually, he settled in Dallas, Texas in 1936. There, he was arrested more than 100 times over the next 3 years, until finally he obtained an honorary degree as a doctor of naturopathy, which, according to Texas state law, would allow him to provide his treatment. Despite staunch opposition, Hoxsey's Dallas clinic would rapidly grow to become one of the largest privately owned cancer centers in the world. The simple fact was, Hoxsey therapy appeared to work, so people kept coming to him for treatment. So why, if he really was providing something so groundbreaking as a treatment for cancer, was Hoxsey so staunchly opposed by authorities? He had an answer. Shortly after he'd opened his first clinic in Illinois in 1924, Hoxsey had been visited by representatives of the American Medical Association, known as the AMA. They seemed excited about his treatment and asked Hoxsey to give a demonstration to AMA higher-ups. Among these higher-ups was a man named Morris Fishbein, the editor of the Journal of the AMA, and, through this position, de facto head of the entire organization, since the journal generated most of the money that allowed the AMA to operate. The day after Hoxsey's demonstration, a congregation of AMA representatives led by Fishbein came to Hoxsey and offered to buy his herbal formula. Hoxsey was open to the idea, but first he asked if they would provide treatment to those unable to pay, as he had been doing. When they seemed offended by the suggestion, telling Hoxsey he would have no say in it once he sold, Hoxsey refused to sell his formula. From that moment, he was set in opposition to the powerful AMA, those whom his father had described as the high priests of medicine. In short order, he would find out why his father had said, "They will persecute you, slander you, and try to drive you off the face of the earth." At first, opposition manifested itself in the form of arrests and fines. But once Hoxsey had legally established his clinic in Dallas, the AMA began to openly attack him. The Journal of the AMA, led by Morris Fishbein, published articles calling him a quack and presented all sorts of totally made-up facts about his treatment, such as that the herbal mixture ate into the blood vessels of patients and killed them, or that his biggest supporter was his local undertaker. By 1949, Hoxsey had had enough, and he sued both the AMA and Morris Fishbein for libel and slander. The case went to trial in 1952. During the course of proceedings, Hoxsey brought more than 50 witnesses who testified that they had been cured of cancer by Hoxsey therapy, many with before and after photos of their condition. Fishbein and the AMA, on the other hand, could not bring so much as one former patient to testify against Hoxsey, not one witness to say that they had been scammed, that Hoxsey was a quack. At the conclusion of the trial, the judge ruled in Hoxsey's favor. Even though he was awarded only a token amount of money in the decision, the judge, believing Hoxsey's momentous victory to be worth enough money to him in and of itself, Hoxsey still became the first person to ever bring a case against Fishbein and the AMA and win. He had beaten the high priests of medicine. And yet, even a stunning and public victory did not help Harry Hoxsey. At the same time as trial proceedings were taking place, Hoxsey submitted 77 patient case histories to the National Cancer Institute for examination, fully documented with clinical records and pathological reports. The NCI responded that the histories didn't have enough information. They wouldn't even look at them. Then, U.S. Senator William Langer introduced a resolution in Congress calling for a government subcommittee to be formed to investigate Hoxsey therapy. But the resolution was struck down. Again, they wouldn't even look at it. Hoxsey publicly challenged the powers that be, writing, "All I want is for them to come here, the AMA, the Food and Drug, FDA, the federal government, anybody. Come here and make an investigation. And if I don't prove to them beyond any question of a doubt that our treatment is superior to radium, X-ray, and surgery, then I will lock the doors of this institution forever." But they still would not come. After Hoxsey's victory at the trial, things got even worse. Far from being chastened by their humiliating defeat in court, the Journal of the AMA published yet another article about Hoxsey in 1954. It declared, "Any person possessing any modicum of knowledge of the pharmacological action of drugs should know that any combination of ingredients listed on the current label of the Hoxsey tonic is without any therapeutic merit in the treatment of cancer. Any such person who would seriously contend that scientific medicine is under any obligation to investigate such a mixture or its promoter is either stupid or dishonest." It's not that Hoxsey's treatment had been disproven or debunked. It was that they found it offensive that they'd even be asked to do such a thing. 2 years later, in 1956, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, FDA, jumped into the mix. First, they published a warning in the Federal Register claiming that scientists had found Hoxsey's treatment to be worthless, despite the fact that mainstream science had refused to even look into it, and asserting that FDA scientists had not found a single verified cure, despite the fact that they had refused to even look at Hoxsey's detailed case histories. It was the first time the agency had ever publicly denounced a cancer treatment. The next year, the FDA took things even further by actually putting up posters in post offices across the country, warning people to beware of Hoxsey therapy. In 1960, the sale and marketing of Hoxsey therapy was officially banned in the U.S. Hoxsey was forced to close his clinic and live out the rest of his life as a scientific pariah before dying in 1974. By the 1980s, Harry Hoxsey's memory had mostly been scrubbed from American medicine and may indeed have been forgotten altogether, if not for one man. James Duke was a renowned botanist and pharmacognosist, the practice of developing medicine from natural sources, the author of more than 20 books and hundreds of scientific articles. In the 1970s and 80s, Duke worked for the U.S. Department of Agriculture, USDA, where he founded a world-class database on plant medicine and collaborated with the National Cancer Institute, NCI, on a government program for drug discovery from natural products, which screened about 10% of the plant species in the world. Suffice it to say, there were few greater experts on the medicinal properties of plants at this time than James Duke. In the mid-80s, the long-suppressed Hoxsey therapy was brought to his attention, and he decided to look deeper into the plants used in the treatment. To do so, he would use the results of his work with the NCI alongside a book titled Plants Against Cancer, a cross-reference of global traditions of anti-cancer plants written by one of the early leaders of the NCI between 1967 and 1971. First, Duke found that all of Hoxsey's plants were listed in Plants Against Cancer, each earning between 3 and 30 citations, which he noted was very impressive. Moreover, each of Hoxsey's plants had been studied by the NCI project and shown themselves to be of considerable interest in the treatment of cancer. As James Duke detailed in an article published in 1988, 8 of the 9 plants in Hoxsey's formula had shown anti-cancer activity in animal lab tests. 5 had shown antioxidant properties as protectants against cancer, and all had shown antimicrobial properties against viral and bacterial infections. In other words, Hoxsey's ingredients did in fact show significant chemical and biological anti-cancer activity. By 1998, Duke had cross-referenced everything with the extensive USDA database he'd founded, putting together even more evidence on the anti-cancer properties of the plants in Hoxsey therapy. And yet, since then, no further official investigations have been conducted on Hoxsey therapy. The FDA has not revised its position, and neither has mainstream science ventured to conduct new tests. It is still banned, still referred to as worthless, discredited, dangerous. Why? Why suppress something with such seemingly amazing properties? Something which so much evidence suggests might actually be a cure for cancer. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to click the link in the description below to claim your 2-month free membership at Skillshare. We're sure you'll find some amazing courses there and learn many new skills. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button, and if you're new, hit subscribe and the bell next to it for future notifications.